The skies above Earth's major cities flickered with an eerie, pulsating light. In New York, Tokyo, and London, millions of faces turned upward, squinting at the unusual phenomenon. Dr. Emily Saunders, lead astronomer at the Arecibo Observatory, frowned at her monitors. The deep space telemetry was going haywire, showing impossible readings. "This can't be right," she muttered, adjusting her glasses. "Hey, Carlos, come look at this." Her colleague hurried over, his eyes widening as he saw the data streams. "Dios mío, is that?" A klaxon blared through the facility, cutting him off. Red warning lights bathed the control room in an ominous glow. Across the globe, similar alarms rang out in every major observatory and space agency. High above Earth's atmosphere, the International Space Station shuddered. Commander Sarah Chen steadied herself against a bulkhead, her heart racing. Through the cupola's windows, she watched in awe as the fabric of space itself seemed to tear open. Massive shapes emerged from the tear, sleek and alien, dwarfing anything humanity had ever sent into orbit. "Houston, are you seeing this?" She radioed, her voice barely above a whisper. But Houston wasn't responding. Neither was any other ground control station. All communications had gone silent. In the Oval Office, President Harriet Monroe sat rigidly, surrounded by grim-faced advisors. The Joint Chiefs of Staff rattled off reports, each more alarming than the last. "Madam President, we've lost contact with our satellites. Our missile defense systems are offline. Reports of widespread communication blackouts are coming in from around the globe." The President's knuckles whitened as she gripped the edge of her desk. "What about our military response?" A heavy silence fell over the room. Finally, the Secretary of Defense spoke up. "Our most advanced fighter jets have been scrambled, but they're like toy planes compared to what we're seeing up there." As if on cue, the screens in the Situation Room lit up. The alien vessels had entered Earth's atmosphere, positioning themselves above major cities worldwide. They were colossal, their dark hulls reflecting the panicked lights of the cities below. In design, they were both beautiful and terrifying. All sleek lines and sharp angles, bristling with what could only be weapons. Elsewhere, in a nondescript office building in Geneva, UN Secretary-General Adebayo Okafor watched the same scenes unfold. His phone hadn't stopped ringing since the first sightings. World leaders, usually at odds, were now united in their desperation for guidance, for a plan, for hope. Okafor closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and made a decision. "Prepare for an emergency broadcast," he told his staff. "The world needs to hear a unified message." But before he could reach the broadcast room, every screen, every radio, every communication device on the planet crackled to life. A booming voice, speaking in perfect English, resonated across the globe. "People of Earth, hear me. I am Grand Admiral Zextor of the Galactic Hegemony. Your planet now falls under our dominion. Your technology is primitive, your defenses laughable. Surrender immediately, and you may yet have a place in our empire as a protectorate species. Resist, and you will be annihilated." The message repeated in every known human language, leaving no room for misunderstanding. In military bases across the world, soldiers rushed to their stations, despite knowing their weapons might be useless. In Tokyo, a young mother clutched her baby tightly as she stared at the looming spaceship above. In a Lagos marketplace, vendors and shoppers alike stood frozen, listening to the ultimatum on a battered radio. Back in Washington, President Monroe stood up, her jaw set with determination. "Get me a secure line to every world leader," she ordered. "And someone find out why the hell we weren't prepared for this." Little did she know, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist, a group of men and women were preparing to reveal a secret that would change everything. As klaxons blared and the world teetered on the brink of subjugation, they knew the time had finally come to unveil humanity's ultimate weapon. The clock was ticking. Earth's moment of truth had arrived. Dr. Area Chen's heart raced as the unmarked black helicopter touched down on a concealed landing pad. The young prodigy had been whisked away from her lab at MIT without explanation, only told that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. As she stepped onto the tarmac, a gust of wind whipped her dark hair across her face, momentarily obscuring her view of the nondescript entrance carved into the mountainside. "Dr. Chen," a stern voice called out. A tall woman in a crisp military uniform approached, her silver hair gleaming in the fading daylight. "I'm General Isabella Vega. Welcome to Olympus Base." Aria's mind reeled. Olympus Base. She'd never heard of it. And she had top-level clearance for most government science projects. Before she could ask any questions, General Vega ushered her inside, where a group of haggard-looking world leaders had assembled. "The Leviathan needs you," Vega said cryptically as they entered a vast, dimly lit control room filled with advanced technology Aria had never seen before. President Monroe stepped forward, her face etched with worry. "Dr. Chen, what we're about to show you has been Earth's most closely guarded secret for the past 50 years. We've prepared for this day, hoping it would never come." A holographic display flickered to life in the center of the room, showing a detailed cross-section of Earth's moon. Aria gasped as she realized what she was seeing. The moon wasn't just a celestial body. It was a shell, concealing something massive within. "Project Leviathan," President Monroe continued, "a supercarrier capable of defending Earth against any threat. And you, Dr. Chen, are the key to unlocking its full potential." As the gravity of the situation sank in, Aria's mind flashed back to her childhood. She remembered her grandfather, a janitor at NASA, telling her fantastic stories about a secret space program. She had always thought they were just tales to encourage her love of science. Now she realized he had been preparing her all along. "How?" Aria managed to ask, her voice barely above a whisper. "How did we build this without anyone knowing?" The British Prime Minister stepped forward, his usual polished demeanor replaced by grim determination. "It began after the Roswell incident in 1947. We recovered more than just debris. We found technology beyond our wildest dreams." A series of classified videos played on the screens around them, showing decades of clandestine work. Brilliant scientists from around the world, sworn to secrecy, reverse engineering alien tech. Vast underground facilities manufacturing advanced components. Covered space missions smuggling pieces of the Leviathan to the moon under the guise of routine satellite launches. "We've had help," the Chinese president added. A faction of aliens, fleeing the galactic hegemony, sought refuge on Earth centuries ago. They'd been working with us, preparing for this day. Aria's scientific mind raced, connecting dots she never knew existed. It explained so many of the quantum leaps in technology over the past decades, developments that had seemed just a bit too convenient, too revolutionary. "Dr. Chen," General Vega interjected, "we need you to activate the Leviathan's core systems. Your grandfather, he was more than a janitor. He was one of the lead engineers on this project, and he encoded the final activation sequence to your DNA." Aria felt the weight of history, of humanity's future, settling on her shoulders. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "What do I need to do?" As if in answer, a section of the floor slid open, revealing a sleek control panel. Aria approached it, guided by an instinct she didn't fully understand. As she placed her hand on the cool surface, it lit up, recognizing her unique genetic signature. Suddenly, the entire facility rumbled. On the main screen, they watched as fissures appeared on the moon's surface. "My God," someone whispered, "it's beginning." Aria's fingers flew over the controls, inputting commands she somehow innately understood. With each keystroke, more of the Leviathan stirred to life. In orbit, alien ships broke off their attack formations, confusion evident in their erratic movements. The moon, Earth's constant celestial companion, was awakening. and humanity's hidden ace was about to change the game entirely. The world watched in collective awe as the familiar cratered surface of the moon began to shift. Fissures spread like spiderwebs across its face, shedding dust and rock into space. In Olympus Base, Dr. Area Chen's fingers danced across the control panel, her mind interfacing with the Leviathan's systems in ways she didn't fully comprehend. "Outer shell disengagement at 30%, she announced, her voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. On the streets of every major city, people stood transfixed, smartphones pointed skyward to capture the impossible. News anchors struggled to maintain composure as they reported on the unprecedented event unfolding in real time. In low Earth orbit, the alien fleet's formation faltered. Grand Admiral Zextor, aboard the Hegemony's flagship, felt the first inkling of doubt creep into his exoskeleton. Impossible, he chittered to his second-in-command. Scan that satellite again. How did we miss this? Back on Earth, in a small village in rural India, an old woman smiled knowingly as she watched the moon transform on a battered television. She had kept the secret for over 50 years, ever since she'd helped manufacture a tiny but crucial component in her youth. Now, she could finally witness the fruit of humanity's hidden labor. As the Leviathan's outer shell continued to peel away, the first glimpses of the Supercarrier emerged. Sleek, gunmetal gray panels reflected the sun's light, a stark contrast to the moon's usual pale glow. Massive engines, dormant for decades, began to pulse with energy. In Olympus Base, General Vega barked orders as systems came online. "Activate gravitational stabilizers. We can't have debris raining down on Earth." Arya nodded, her hands moving almost of their own accord. She felt as if the knowledge of generations was flowing through her, guiding every action. The room shuddered as the Leviathan's power core fully activated. On screens around the world, people watched as the last of the moon's natural surface fell away, revealing the full majesty of humanity's secret weapon. The Leviathan was a marvel of engineering, a perfect fusion of reverse-engineered alien technology and human ingenuity. Its hull bristled with weapon systems beyond current scientific understanding. Massive hangar bays began to open, revealing squadrons of advanced fighters ready for deployment. In orbit, the alien fleet's communications erupted in chaos. "By the Founder's tentacles," Zextor exclaimed. "How can these primitives possess such technology? Prepare for immediate assault. We must destroy this abomination before it fully activates." But the Hegemony had hesitated too long. As their ships moved to attack positions, the Leviathan's defense systems came online. A shimmering energy shield enveloped the massive craft, effortlessly deflecting the first salvo of alien weaponry. On the Leviathan's bridge, a diverse crew of Earth's finest, trained in secret for years, took their stations. Captain Yuki Tanaka, chosen to lead this crucial first mission, settled into the command chair. "All systems operational," her XO reported. "Awaiting your orders, Captain." Yuki took a deep breath, feeling the weight of humanity's hopes on her shoulders. "Launch fighters. Target the enemy's command ships. Let's show them what Earth can do." As the first wave of Earth's fighters streaked out of the Leviathan's hangars, cheers erupted in cities across the globe. Humanity, which had felt helpless mere hours ago, now dared to hope. In Olympus Base, world leaders watched the unfolding battle with a mixture of terror and pride. President Monroe turned to Dr. Chen, who stood exhausted but exhilarated at her console. "Doctor, I think it's time we introduced ourselves properly to our unwelcome guests," the president said, a glint of determination in her eye. Arya nodded, inputting a series of commands. The Leviathan's communication array powered up, preparing to broadcast across all frequencies. As Earth's hidden supercarrier moved into attack position, Grand Admiral Zextor realized that the easy conquest he had anticipated had just become the fight of his life. The battle for Earth, and perhaps the fate of the galaxy, was about to begin in earnest. And humanity, against all odds, was ready. The vast expanse of space around Earth erupted into a dazzling display of advanced warfare. The Leviathan's hangars disgorged wave after wave of fighters, their sleek designs unlike anything seen before. At the helm of the lead fighter, call sign Nova 1, sat Major Elena Rodriguez, her hand steady on the controls despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Nova Squadron, form up on me," she commanded, her voice calm and determined. "Remember your training. These bogies may have fancy tech, but we've got the element of surprise. Let's show them what Earth can do." The quantum-entangled fighters moved in perfect synchronization, their neural interfaces allowing pilots to react at near-instantaneous speeds. As they approached the alien fleet, the enormity of their task became clear. The hegemony ships loomed large, their weapon systems charging for another assault on the Leviathan. Back on the Supercarrier's bridge, Captain Tanaka watched the tactical display with intense focus. "Major Rodriguez, your primary target is their command ship. Disable their communications array. Let's cut off the head of the snake." "Copy that, Leviathan Actual," Elena responded, her fighter accelerating towards the largest enemy vessel. The alien fleet, still reeling from the shock of Earth's hidden weapon, struggled to mount an organized defense. Their superior numbers meant little in the face of Earth's unexpected technological leap. In Olympus Base, Dr. Chen worked feverishly to unlock more of the Leviathan systems. "General Vega, I'm bringing the main cannon online. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. It can disrupt the very fabric of space-time." General Vega nodded grimly. "Good work, Doctor, but let's hope we don't have to use it. The collateral damage could be catastrophic." Above them, the battle raged. Nova Squadron danced through the enemy formation, their quantum drives allowing them to appear and disappear at will, confounding alien targeting systems. Major Rodriguez's fighters screamed towards the command ship, effortlessly evading incoming fire. "Nova 3, watch your 6, she shouted, noting an enemy fighter on her wingman's tail. With a thought, she redirected power to her rear deflectors and interposed her craft between her squadmate and the threat. Her shield flared as it absorbed the alien's attack, but held. Nova 3 barrel rolled away, then looped back, catching the enemy fighter in a crossfire. The alien ship exploded in a brilliant flash, scattering debris across the battlefield. On the Hegemony command ship, Grand Admiral Zextor chittered in frustration. "How are they predicting our every move? Recalibrate the targeting algorithms. Concentrate all fire on their carrier." But the Leviathan was far from defenseless. As a wave of alien energy weapons surged towards it, the Supercarrier's shield matrix adapted, refracting the incoming attacks harmlessly into space. Captain Tanaka allowed herself a small smile. "Dr. Chen, your grandfather's work is saving a lot of lives today. Now let's return the favor. All batteries, target the enemy's escort ships. Fire at will." The Leviathan's weapon systems roared to life. Lances of coherent light and streams of exotic particles lashed out, slicing through the Hegemony's smaller vessels with ease. As Nova Squadron neared the alien flagship, Major Rodriguez keyed her comm. "Nova 1 to all units, execute Maneuver Theta. Let's punch a hole in their defenses." The Earth fighters split into 3 groups, each attacking from a different vector. The alien point defense systems, designed to track conventional spacecraft, struggled to lock onto the quantum-shifting Earth fighters. With a thought, Elena engaged her craft's main weapon. A beam of concentrated energy erupted from her fighter, striking the alien command ship's communication array. The structure buckled, then exploded in a shower of sparks and debris. "Direct hit," Elena exclaimed. "Leviathan Actual. The enemy flagship is cut off from their fleet." On the bridge, Captain Tanaka nodded in satisfaction. "Excellent work, Nova 1. All units, press the advantage. Let's show these invaders they picked the wrong planet to mess with." As the battle continued to unfold, it was clear that the tide had turned. The once mighty Hegemony fleet, caught off guard and outmaneuvered, began to fall back, retreating to regroup and reassess their strategy. Earth had won the first round, but the war was far from over. As the adrenaline of victory coursed through humanity's defenders, they knew that their actions today would echo across the galaxy. The legend of Earth's hidden supercarrier was about to spread, and the balance of power in the cosmos would never be the same. As the dust settled from Earth's shocking victory, ripples of consequence spread across the galaxy. On the desert planet of Zarthak, in a dingy underground bar filled with a motley assortment of alien species, all eyes were fixed on a holographic news broadcast. Unprecedented defeat of a hegemony battle group by a previously unknown species, the tentacled news anchor reported, its bioluminescent patches flashing with excitement. Reports suggest that the planet, known as Earth, concealed a warship of immense power within its own natural satellite. In a shadowy corner, Krulvax, a scared veteran of countless rebellions against the hegemony, leaned forward, his four eyes widening in disbelief. By the cosmic winds, he whispered to his companions, "Do you realize what this means?" His words sparked a flurry of hushed conversations throughout the bar. Species that had long suffered under the hegemony's iron fist dared to hope for the first time in generations. Meanwhile, in the gleaming spires of the Galactic Senate on Centauri Prime, the political landscape was shifting rapidly. Senator Lhana of the Andromedan Consortium paced in her chambers, dictating a flurry of messages to her aides. "We must establish diplomatic relations with Earth immediately," she insisted. "Any species capable of blindsiding the hegemony like this could be a powerful ally, or a terrible enemy." Across the galaxy, in the fortress-like war room of the hegemony's capital ship, Grand Imperator Zextor faced the fury of the High Council. Holographic representations of the Empire's most powerful leaders glowered at him from all sides. "You assured us that this Earth would fall easily," Supreme Overlord Cathax boomed, his massive form dwarfing the other counselors. "Instead, we faced the greatest military humiliation in 1,000 cycles." Zextor's exoskeleton quivered, but he stood his ground. "My lords, this setback is temporary. The humans caught us by surprise, but now we know of their weapon. We will regroup, analyze their technology, and crush them with overwhelming force." As the hegemony plotted its retaliation, Earth itself was grappling with its new reality. In Olympus Base, world leaders engaged in heated debates about their next steps. President Monroe stood at the head of the table, her voice cutting through the clamor. "Ladies and gentlemen, please, we've just announced our presence on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. We need to be prepared for the consequences, both good and bad." The Chinese president nodded in agreement. "We should expect diplomatic overtures from other species. Some will seek alliances, others will attempt to manipulate us for their own gain." "And let's not forget," the Russian leader added grimly, "the hegemony will return, and in greater numbers. We must be ready." As if on cue, Dr. Chen burst into the room, her eyes wild with excitement. "Madam President, everyone, you need to see this." She activated a holographic display, showing a sector of space near Jupiter. A swirling vortex of energy had appeared, and ships of various designs were emerging from it. "It's some kind of faster-than-light portal," Aria explained breathlessly. "And those ships, they're not hegemony designs. I think they're refugees, or maybe allies." The room erupted in a mix of excitement and apprehension. Humanity's victory had not gone unnoticed, and now the galaxy was quite literally coming to them. Aboard the Leviathan, now in high Earth orbit, Captain Tanaka received the news of the incoming ships with a mix of hope and caution. "Maintain battle readiness," she ordered her crew. "But let's give our visitors a cautious welcome. Prepare first contact protocols." As Earth prepared to meet its new galactic neighbors, resistance movements across the stars found new courage. On 100 worlds, oppressed species looked to the sky with renewed hope, whispering the name of the planet that had dared to stand against the mighty hegemony. In the depths of space, aboard secretive trading posts, and hidden rebel bases, information brokers worked overtime. Everyone wanted to know more about these humans and their incredible hidden weapon. Alliances were forming, plots were being hatched, and the balance of power that had stood for millennia was beginning to crumble. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what Earth would do next. The age of humanity's isolation was over. For better or worse, they were now players on the grandest of stages. And the next move was theirs. The relative calm following Earth's initial victory was shattered in an instant. Alarms blared across the planet as thousands of hegemony warships tore through the fabric of space, emerging from hyperdrive in a terrifying display of force. At the helm of the massive flagship Eternal Dominion stood Commander Vexkar, his mandibles clicking in anticipation. Unlike the measured approach of Grand Admiral Zextor, Vexkar believed in overwhelming force and had disobeyed direct orders to launch this attack. Target their population centers, he growled to his subordinates. Let's see how powerful their moonship is when their cities burn. On Earth, panic spread like wildfire. The Leviathan, still recovering from the previous battle, scrambled to respond. Captain Tanaka's voice crackled over the global emergency broadcast system. All planetary defense systems, this is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Incoming hostile forces. Prepare for immediate engagement. In Olympus Base, Dr. Aria Chen worked feverishly to unlock more of the Leviathan's advanced systems. We're not ready, she muttered, her fingers flying over holographic interfaces. We need more time. President Monroe stood resolute in the war room, surrounded by holographic displays of the unfolding crisis. Time is a luxury we don't have, Doctor. What's the status of our ground-based defenses? General Vega stepped forward, her face grim. Madam President, we've activated all available units, but they were never designed to repel a full-scale invasion. Our best hope is the Leviathan. Above, the space battle erupted with renewed fury. The Leviathan's advanced shields strained under the barrage of hegemony weapons, while Earth's fighters darted between massive alien ships, exploiting every weakness they could find. Major Elena Rodriguez, leading Nova Squadron, gritted her teeth as she narrowly avoided a barrage of plasma fire. Nova Squadron, form up on me. We need to punch a hole in their formation for the Leviathan to exploit. But even as the space battle raged, Vexkar's forces began their planetary assault. Drop ships pierced Earth's atmosphere, heading for major cities across the globe. In the streets of New York, Tokyo, and Lagos, civilians ran in terror as alien troops materialized, their weapons unlike anything humanity had faced before. Earth's military responded with everything they had, but they were outgunned and outmatched. Back in Olympus Base, Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she made a breakthrough. I've accessed a new weapon system, she shouted. It's incredible. Some kind of gravity manipulation device. President Monroe didn't hesitate. Use it, Doctor. Whatever it takes to protect our people. Aria nodded, inputting the activation sequence. Aboard the Leviathan, Captain Tanaka watched in awe as a new array of emitters emerged from the ship's hull. All hands, braced for gravitational distortion, she ordered. The weapon fired, sending out waves of distorted spacetime. Hegemony ships caught in its path began to twist and crumple, their hulls unable to withstand the immense gravitational forces. Commander Vexkar watched in horror as a third of his fleet was torn apart in seconds. Impossible, he roared. Intensify the ground assault. We'll make these humans suffer for every ship we lose. On Earth's surface, the battle grew more desperate by the moment. In the ruins of downtown Los Angeles, a squad of human soldiers found themselves cornered by advancing alien troops. Just as all seemed lost, the ground shook, and a massive form rose from beneath the streets. A mech suit, reverse-engineered from recovered alien tech and piloted by a human crew, emerged from a hidden underground hangar. Its weapons blazed, turning the tide of the local battle. Similar scenes played out across the globe as Earth unveiled more of its secret defenses. But for every alien trooper defeated, two more seemed to take its place. In orbit, the Leviathan continued to hold its ground, but the strain was beginning to show. Captain Tanaka's voice was tense as she communicated with Olympus Base. "We're holding, but barely. If we don't find a way to push them back soon, I don't know how long we can last." As the battle raged on multiple fronts, humanity fought with everything it had. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and the cost of victory, if victory was even possible, would be beyond measure. The Empire had indeed struck back, and the true test of humanity's resolve had only just begun. As the battle for Earth reached its zenith, Dr. Aria Chen stood amidst the chaos of Olympus Base, her mind racing. Holographic displays flickered around her, showing the desperate fights unfolding across the globe and in orbit. Suddenly, a forgotten conversation with her grandfather surfaced in her memory. "The heart of the Leviathan," she whispered, her eyes widening. Of course. Without explanation, she bolted from the control room, leaving bewildered officials in her wake. Deep within the mountain complex, Aria found a hidden elevator, its existence known only to a select few. As she descended into the Earth's core, the sounds of battle faded away. The elevator doors opened to reveal a cavernous chamber bathed in an ethereal blue light. At its center stood a pulsating crystalline structure, the true heart of the Leviathan. "Hello, Aria," a soft, androgynous voice echoed through the chamber. "I've been waiting for you." Meanwhile, in orbit, the Leviathan shuddered under the relentless hegemony assault. On the bridge, Captain Tanaka gripped her command chair, watching as another of Earth's cities fell to the invaders. "We need a miracle," she muttered. As if in answer, new data streams suddenly flooded her tactical displays. The ship's AI, dormant for decades, had awakened. "Captain," the AI's voice resonated through the bridge. "I am Athena. Dr. Chen has activated my core systems. I have formulated a strategy to repel the invasion." On the planet's surface, the tide of battle shifted. The newly awakened AI coordinated Earth's defenses with impossible speed and precision. Mech suits and ground troops found themselves executing maneuvers they hadn't known they were capable of, guided by Athena's vast intelligence. In New Delhi, a squad of human soldiers led by Sergeant Ravi Mehta suddenly found themselves moving in perfect synchronization, their actions anticipated and supported by unseen allies. As they pushed back a group of alien invaders, Ravi couldn't shake the feeling that something greater was at work. "Whatever's happening," he shouted to his squad, "let's make it count." Back in Olympus Base, world leaders watched in awe as the situation began to turn in humanity's favor. President Monroe turned to General Vega, hope glimmering in her eyes for the first time in hours. "What changed?" she asked. Before Vega could respond, Dr. Chen's voice crackled over the comms. "Madam President, meet Athena, the true power behind the Leviathan. She's been guiding our civilization's technological development for centuries, preparing us for this moment." In space, the Leviathan's movements became fluid and unpredictable. Its weapons fired with pinpoint accuracy, each shot finding a critical weakness in the hegemony ships. Captain Tanaka felt the ship respond to her thoughts, almost before she had them, Athena amplifying her tactical instincts. "Nova Squadron," Tanaka commanded, "form up on our starboard flank. We're going to punch a hole straight to their command ship." Major Rodriguez acknowledged, her fighter dancing through enemy fire with impossible grace. "Roger that, Leviathan." "Nova Squadron, let's show these aliens what humanity can really do." As Earth's forces rallied, Commander Vexkar watched his invasion crumble from the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. His mandibles clicked in fury as another of his ships exploded under the Leviathan's onslaught. "Impossible," he hissed. "How can these primitives?" His words were cut short as alarms blared throughout his ship. A small team of human and alien rebel commandos, led by the scared veteran Krelvax, had somehow transported aboard. They fought their way towards the bridge, determined to end Vexkar's threat once and for all. As the battle reached its climax, Dr. Chen stood before the pulsating crystal of Athena's core, her hands dancing over holographic interfaces. "We've got one shot at this," she murmured. "Athena, initiate the gravity pulse sequence." In orbit, the Leviathan's hull began to glow with otherworldly energy. Captain Tanaka's voice rang out across all frequencies. "All friendly forces, brace for impact. This ends now." A wave of distorted space-time erupted from the Leviathan, rippling across the battlefield. Hegemony ships caught in its path found their very atoms torn apart, while Earth's forces remained unscathed. As the light faded and the dust settled, an eerie silence fell over Earth and its orbit. The invasion force was in ruins, and at the center of it all floated the Leviathan, humanity's guardian, and the key to its survival. The tide had turned, but the war was far from over. As Earth's defenders allowed themselves a moment of victory, they knew that their actions today would echo across the galaxy. The age of humanity's isolation was truly at an end, and the universe would never be the same. The days following Earth's miraculous victory were a whirlwind of activity. As the dust settled and the immediate threats subsided, humanity found itself thrust onto the galactic stage in a way no one could have imagined mere weeks ago. In the newly christened Galactic Council Chamber, hastily constructed atop the ruins of the old United Nations building in New York, representatives from a dozen alien species gathered. The room hummed with tension and excitement as President Monroe took the podium, flanked by Dr. Aria Chen and Captain Yuki Tanaka. "Friends, allies, and fellow sentients," Monroe began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "We stand at a crossroads of history. The fall of the hegemony has left a power vacuum in our galaxy, one that we must fill with wisdom and compassion, lest another tyranny rise to take its place." As she spoke, holographic displays showed scenes from across Earth, cities beginning to rebuild, humans and friendly aliens working side by side to repair the damage of war. In orbit, the Leviathan floated serenely, a symbol of both protection and newfound responsibility. Krelvax, the scared rebel veteran now serving as ambassador for a coalition of freed worlds, stepped forward. "The humans have proven themselves not just capable warriors, but also worthy leaders. We propose a new galactic alliance, with Earth at its center." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Not all were convinced. The Andromedan representative, Elhana, raised a tentacle in objection. "Earth is untested in galactic politics. How can we be sure they won't become the very thing they helped overthrow?" Dr. Chen stepped up, her eyes shining with conviction. "We understand your concerns. That's why we propose a shared leadership. Athena, the AI that helped us defeat the hegemony, will serve as an impartial advisor to the Council. Her vast knowledge and processing power will help us navigate the complexities of interstellar governance." A holographic projection of Athena materialized, her form a shifting, ethereal presence. "My core directives are to preserve life and promote harmony," she stated, her voice resonating with ancient wisdom. "I will guide, but never rule. The choices must always remain with the sentient beings of our galaxy." As discussions continued, Captain Tanaka received an urgent communication from the Leviathan. Excusing herself, she stepped out onto a balcony overlooking the rebuilt city. "Report," she commanded. "Captain," her XO's voice crackled through the comm. "Long-range sensors have detected unusual activity at the edge of the system. It looks like ships, but like nothing we've ever seen before." Tanaka's blood ran cold. Even as they celebrated victory, new challenges loomed on the horizon. She turned back to the council chamber, knowing that the news she carried could shatter the fragile peace they were building. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, beyond the reach of even the Leviathan's advanced sensors, the remnants of the hegemony fleet limped towards a mysterious rendezvous point. Commander Vexkar, his pride wounded but his resolve unbroken, stood before a shadowy holographic figure. "You have failed us, Commander," the figure's voice boomed, filling the ship with dread. "But your failure has revealed a truth we long suspected. The humans and their AI are the key to unlocking the ancient technologies we seek. You will be given one last chance to redeem yourself." Back on Earth, as the Galactic Council reached its final deliberations, President Monroe signed the Charter of the New Alliance. Cheers erupted from the assembled delegates, a cacophony of alien and human voices united in hope for a brighter future. But even as they celebrated, challenges loomed. How would Earth handle its newfound power and responsibility? Could the Alliance protect its members from unknown threats lurking in the cosmic darkness? And what of the mysterious ships approaching from the edge of the solar system? As the sun set on this historic day, Dr. Chen stood with Captain Tanaka, watching the first stars appear in the evening sky. "You know," Ari mused, "my grandfather used to say that the greatest adventures begin when you think the story's over." Yuki nodded, her eyes fixed on the heavens. "I have a feeling he was right. Our journey is just beginning." And so, as Earth took its first steps as a leader of the galactic community, the stage was set for new adventures, new challenges, and a future limited only by the boundless expanse of space and the indomitable spirit of those who dared to explore it. The hidden Supercarrier had shocked the galactic empire, but it was humanity's heart, courage, and vision that would shape the cosmos for generations to come.